Committee members, they'll catch up quickly. We're going to start with opening the hearing on Senate Bill 397. Amelia, will you give us an overview?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill number 397 relates to certain homestead refunds and provides that a person shall not lose eligibility for a homestead property tax refund claim or the selective assistance for effective senior relief, which is sometimes referred to as Safe Senior, if the appraised valuation of the homestead subsequently exceeds $350,000. As you may recall, a few years ago, the legislature enacted a new provision within the Homestead Refund Claim Act that provided for a property tax freeze program. And the provision of that refund claim provides that the appraised value of the homestead needs to be $350,000 or less in the base year. So it can exceed for the claim years, but the base year needed to be $350,000 or less. This particular bill would amend a portion of the Homestead Property Tax Refund Act to provide that for the original homestead refund, so that refund program that has been around for several decades with a limit of $700, for that program and for Safe Senior, it would, well, currently for those two programs, for Safe Senior and the original homestead, KSA 794522 requires that the homestead have an appraised value not exceeding $350,000 for the claim year. The bill would amend that statute so that for those two programs, if a person received a refund under the Property Tax Refund Act or Safe Senior for any previous year, when the person's homestead had an appraised value not exceeding $350,000, they would not lose eligibility for any subsequent year for that homestead in the event the appraised value exceeded $350,000 in a subsequent year, as long as that person still qualified with the other requirements such as the income thresholds. And the bill would take effect from and after publication in the statute book. But it would be effective with tax year 2026.
Thank you, Amelia. And just to repeat what you said, this would bring it in so that it is the same as the property tax freeze program.
It would be a similar mechanism.
Yes. Okay. So once you're in, you're in. Senator Klump.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Amelia. So, summary: your house is valued below $350. It goes above $350. You're getting the tax credit, or you would continue to qualify even though your value of your home went up above $350 if you qualify for the program.
Madam Chair, yes, that's correct. If you had received a refund for that homestead when it was valued less than $350,000.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, Amelia. Committee, our first conferee is Senator Kelly Warren. Welcome to the Tax Committee.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Kelly Warren, honored to represent Senate District 11, which is wholly within Johnson County. And I'm standing before you here today with joint conferees who have joined me in submitting written testimony from Johnson County as well. You heard what the bill does, and it addresses probably the biggest issue I hear about knocking on doors in our area, and it is the appraisals of the homes going up. And with those going up, and especially in our area, it captures folks that weren't meant to be harmed by the appraisal going up, and through no fault of their own, right? Their home value exceeds now $350,000, and they, without this bill, would be excluded from the Safe Senior program. So I want to thank our Johnson County resident, who you'll hear from later, who brought this bill, this issue, this concern to the legislature, and so glad she's here to join us today. So thank you for taking a look at this and this very real loophole in the law that's capturing a lot of our seniors who weren't meant to be impacted by, in a very negative way, that the home appraisals are going up. Again, through no action of their own, they're being excluded from this program. So with that, Madam Chair, I'd be happy to stand for questions, and it does apply to those who are, as a household, below the 120% of the federal poverty level for two persons. So it is affecting those 65 and older and at that level of income as well. So with that, I'll stand for any questions at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Committee, any questions? Seeing none. Oh, Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for being here. I understand why this would make sense to anyone who had had that appraisal. How do you address the issues of someone who now has just turned 65, so would be eligible, and the person who is now 70 can have a house with a higher valuation, but they could not apply, and they also didn't have anything to do with the valuations going up?
Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Senator, for the question. That might also be a question for the reviser as well. I understand this piece of legislation is covered in a bigger property tax bill too, so maybe the chair has some legislation in place that might address that issue. That's not part of this bill, though.
Thank you, Senator. It's not, but we are going to be looking at, I appreciate that. So we will take up that. We will take a look at all the parameters of all three programs. Our objective is to combine them into one. It won't happen overnight, but that would help with the issue that you're talking about. So thank you.
I think that's fantastic to bring those issues together because, like I said, I'm sure most of us across the state, the number one issue we hear about knocking on doors is property tax relief. So thank you for taking a look at it in all regards. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Committee, next up is Andrea Durate Rambo. Welcome to the Tax Committee. I think I did not pronounce your name properly, but welcome to the Tax Committee.
Thank you. I'm really nervous to be standing here before you all today. I would much rather be here talking to you about my kids and telling you about their victories over traumatic brain injury and the other one who had 7 massive strokes at age 32. And I've learned a lot about that. I typically give speeches like to the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill and law enforcement and groups of various kinds. And I'm the one that comes in and helps others and tries to save some lives. I'm not usually the one asking for help, but today I am. So if it's okay, since I'm a little afraid, if I read a little bit, and then I promise I'll get off script and you can talk to me and question me, of course. Honorable senators and members of this tax committee, thank you for allowing me to attend this meeting. As a resident of Kansas and Johnson County, I have been able to utilize the state's Safe Senior Program for many years. As a 73-year-old widow, a mom of 8, 2 of whom are very medically fragile, and a grandma of 11, this has allowed me to stay in my home. It's been such a blessing. As you know, to qualify, and I think it was just addressed, for the Safe Senior Refund Program, you must own your own home, you must be at least 65 years of age, current on your property tax, which hasn't been easy, I've even had to sell beloved paintings and things that my mom had given me just to prove that she loved me. And it was very difficult to part with, but I was willing to do anything to keep a roof over the heads. I'll go into that a little bit. But you have to fall below certain income guidelines and have a home whose value, as you know, is under $350,000. And year after year, I've used that refund along with whatever small, meager amount that I might have been able to save up with all the legal and transportation fees and medical catastrophic fees. It's been tough, but I did that. But I used that refund to then turn it around and pay for the following year's refund. Didn't have a lot left over for anything frivolous or whatever, but that's what I did. And it's been such a blessing. But last year, I called the Kansas State Treasurer's Office. I was just looking for help with some income tax issues, not my forte. And the person who helped me advised me that my home was newly appraised by Johnson County at approximately $349,000, and that I will not be eligible for the Safe Senior discount or Safe Senior refund going forward after this year. I am terrified of losing my home. And if I'm having this problem, I am pretty assured that there's a lot of us having this problem and this concern. Next year, it might mean that we could become homeless. Where will we go? I don't know. I didn't know where to turn. I called everywhere I could imagine. Eventually, several months ago, I was able to speak with Mr. Mike Perner. I'm not sure of his title even. I was shocked that he was willing to listen. When he promised to share my concerns, I really didn't expect to hear back from anyone. But a few weeks ago, I was stunned as I received word from him that you all were kind enough to also listen to my story and that you wanted to know more. I cannot imagine what it must be like for each of you in leadership positions right now. There's so much conflict and lack of respect for you and for all of us, even among those of us that you are simply trying to help. Some of you, no doubt, are even losing sleep trying to make decisions that are going to benefit all of us, while the rest of us complain. And the complaints against you and people who are trying to help get louder than the praise you deserve. And I want you to know that one lady from Kansas appreciates you very, very much. I know that you are doing this probably not for the money. I've heard from my kids who are kind of into politics and different things that most of you probably spend a whole lot more on us than you ever could take in. I really appreciate that as well. I am not here, please know, I am not here for anything. I'm not here for a handout. I am the mom who started out as a single mother of 8 working for McDonald's. And from there, I went to Sun Publications. I was a founder and creator of their pet pages. We saved thousands of dogs and cats, and it was wonderful. Helped the shelters. Went from there to the Employment Guide, became the top salesperson there. Went to Job News, became one of the top salespeople for advertising in the nation. After that, I went to Etc. Advertising, an award-winning company, and I became their PR director and director of sales eventually. And even now, as a 73-year-old old lady with a couple of kids who have special needs, I am working at Sam's Club, unfortunately selling out of the things I'm supposed to be demonstrating. So sometimes there may not be samples left when you guys come in to see me. But if you do come and remind me that you are the folks I just spoke to, I'll try to give you double samples. But at any rate, I want to thank you very much for listening. to the concern of somebody like myself. I'm here to answer any questions about anything that you might have, and that's really all I have to say, except thank you.
So I want to thank you for engaging in the process. This means a lot to have people come up here to this building and speak out. And I'm going to make a suggestion. I don't know if anybody's ran the numbers for you, but I think it might be more beneficial for you to be in the property tax freeze, because the current program that you're in, the homestead, is capped at $700, and the freeze would be the difference of the increase from your base year.
She's in safe seat.
Well,
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you were in the homestead program. I was going to say, that's not as good. Okay, you're in Safe Seniors. Okay,
get
that's good to
70.
know. So you get paid back even more. So forget what I said, neglect it. Yeah. But no, that's good to know. Committee, any questions? Senator Francisco.
Thank you. And this may not be a question that you can directly answer, but if you're talking to other people, I would be concerned about two things. One, the increasing appraisal on property, and two, we've gone through some years where we've seen significant increases in Social Security by a percentage, and so that is something also, since 100% of that is counted in this program, there may be people that are pushed out because of inflation that way. And I don't need to know how close you are to that, but those two things together can each present difficulties.
Well, to answer that, I have been very, very blessed. I don't understand the mechanics, but because I was on SSI before I went on SSDI, I was exempt from that portion or something, so Social Security income apparently doesn't count. Even if it did right now, I would qualify, apparently. But that has been a real blessing as well. And especially with my, with my two kiddos, you cannot imagine. But thank you so much for saying all of that as well.
Thank you. Committee,
not to
any other questions? Thank you so much again for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Committee, we have written proponents. I'll turn your attention to those. Is there any other proponents? Any opponents? Any neutral? We'll close the hearing on SB 397. Committee will turn our attention back to the item on the agenda for the approval of the committee minutes, January 13th, 14th, 15th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Committee, what are your wishes? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I would move approval of the minutes for January 13, 14, 15, 20, 21, and 22.
You've heard the motion. Is there a second? It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Owens. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, committee. We'll open the hearing for SB 402. Amelia, will you give us an overview?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, Senate Bill number 402 relates again to the Homestead Property Tax Refund Act and the Safe Senior Tax Credit. And it would provide for the following, and there's kind of 5 bullet points that this bill covers. The first is that it would modify the definition of household income for the original homestead refund. Number 2, it would provide an eligibility exception for claimants who are required to live away from the homestead by reason of health or other hardship for the 2 homestead refund claim programs. It would provide for one homestead refund claim form for the 2 homestead refund claims. It would provide that a person shall not lose eligibility for the original homestead refund claim or safe senior if the appraised value subsequently exceeds $350,000. That's similar to the one you just heard. And then it would also establish a constant household income threshold for the safe senior credit. So specifically, currently, and I believe this was mentioned in the previous hearing, the household income threshold for eligibility for the Safe Senior Program is currently based on a household income equal to or less than 120% of the federal poverty level for 2 persons. Section 1 of the bill would amend KSA 7932-263 to change the household income threshold to a constant number of $25,380 beginning with tax year 2026. Section 2 of the bill would amend 794502 subsection C to modify the definition of household income to mean the total Kansas adjusted gross income as defined by KSA 7932-117 of all persons of a household in a calendar year, while members of such household are members of such household. This would apply to the original Homestead Refund Act. This would be language that is similar to what is found in the newer property tax freeze provision. So it would be consistent with that program. This definition, though, would not apply to Safe Senior. The definition of Safe Senior would be left alone. Currently, a claimant for a homestead refund claim must be domiciled in the state for the entire calendar year in order to be eligible. Section 3 would amend 794503 to provide an eligibility exception for claimants who are required to live away from their homestead by reason of health or other hardship, beginning with tax year 2026. Specifically, a claimant who qualified under the Act as a Kansas resident in the past and otherwise qualifies as a claimant would not lose eligibility for any subsequent tax year when the claimant is required to live away from their homestead, including living away from Kansas, by reason of health or other hardship, so long as the homestead is not rented or used for production of income while the claimant is away. The new provision also provides a definition of by reason of health, and it provides that it means to obtain medical care or receive basic services related to daily living, self-care, or mobility, including assistance with bathing and personal hygiene, dressing, grooming, health maintenance activities, and preparation of meals. This new provision would apply to both of what we would refer to as the homestead refund claims, the original homestead program, and the property tax freeze program, but it would not apply to Safe Senior. The next provision in Section 4 would amend KSA 794510 to require the Division of Taxation to combine application forms. Currently, there are 3 application forms, one for the original homestead, one for Safe Senior, and one for the property tax freeze provision. This amendment would propose to require the Division of Taxation to combine the 2 homestead programs, the original homestead and the property tax freeze, into one application form. And they would do that beginning in tax year 2026 and continue to do that moving forward. The next provision that is mentioned there is a provision that is similar to the one that you just heard, where for the original homestead property tax refund and Safe Senior, if a claimant, if a person's homestead value exceeded $350,000 in a subsequent year, they could continue to claim the refund if they met the other requirements of the statute. And the bill would take effect from and after publication in the statute book, and I would be happy to stand for questions.
Thank you, Amelia. Committee, any questions? Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm a little curious as to if you could help me out with I don't know what section it is, but on page 6, talks about being away for health or other hardship. The words other hardship kind of, to me, seem ambiguous. I mean, can you give me an example of what an, it tells what other hardship does not include. In other words, you can't be incarcerated, but what might be another hardship?
So Amelia, I'll field that one since I'm the one that requested the language. What we were running into is that some seniors are not, like, they're away from their home for so many months. They get put into a rest home, or they're taken out of state for certain reasons for another family emergency, and they are losing qualification as a result of that. So this would just say, you know, there are times that you have to be out of Kansas or out of your home, and you should not be disqualified from the program if that's the case.
I appreciate that, and I understand. I'm just wondering if we need to define other hardship.
Senator, we can sure look at that when we work the bill. Yeah. Thank you. Committee, any other questions? Thank you. Thanks, Amelia. And committee, John did hand out a sheet to try to help keep track of these different programs so that you know what we're looking at. But our first conferee is Erin Nguyen. Welcome to the Tax Committee.
Now it is. I'm here on behalf of Johnson County government, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners and our Commission on Aging, enthusiastically supportive of this bill. But before I kind of dive into the specifics of this proposal, I did just want to share, listening to the previous conferee and connecting with her briefly after, is such an example of ways that we can work together to truly provide targeted relief to some of the most vulnerable. She wasn't aware that Johnson County had a county-level property tax relief program that she will now qualify for. So she's going to apply for that and kind of get relief from two different taxing jurisdictions. So I wanted to share that. So this bill, thank you, Madam Chair, for bringing this forward, will ease administrative burden on our older Kansans that want to apply for these benefits. At the county, we serve as kind of frontline resources for folks that are interested, both in our taxation department and our area agency on aging. So we work with people as they're trying to decipher the three different forms, which one to fill out and to read the size 8 font on these small pieces of paper. So the proposal to combine into one form, I can't exactly tell you how many people will be increased because of that, but anecdotally, it will make a major difference. So really applaud that effort. Expanding eligibility in terms of the income and increasing valuation will also help folks receive these benefits. So targeted property tax relief is a key focus area for our Commission on Aging and our board. And of course, we'll always welcome the conversation to expand benefits, but enthusiastically support this bill and happy to stand for any questions.
Thank you, Erin. Committee, any questions? So I would ask you, and I know this is, we have the 3 different programs. It does get confusing. There's not as many individuals on the Safe Senior program. I know it's a 70%, 75% property tax refund. But if we could eventually combine these 3 programs into one, we would allow more people to qualify. Would you guys be supportive of that?
Absolutely. We'd want to look at the details, but anything that would increase eligibility, we would support.
Okay, we would not take anybody off the current program. We would just freeze it so that, and they would go to the other programs.
Yes.
Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. Committee, any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, Erin. Are there any other proponents that would like to testify? We do have written testimony. Committee, I'll draw your attention to. Any opponents? Any neutral? Seeing none, we'll close the hearing on Senate Bill 402. Committee, I emailed you a list of legislation that we would be working, and we are going to have some time to work a bill or two today. However, since we just had the hearing on these 2, we will let them lay over for the evening. I would like that you would take a look at these. I've asked for a fiscal note on expanding the valuation to $375,000 and $400,000. We've never The Senate has been very aggressive on expanding the valuation. We've been very supportive of increasing it to 500,000. We can't get that across the line, so I thought we'd try a different number unless the committee has some other suggestions. Any other questions on that? Because we will work that legislation tomorrow. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did have a question and maybe asking for an amendment. When we talk about combining the three forms, which I think is a great idea, we are then asking the Department of Revenue to identify the form, and perhaps I should have asked this of the revisor. We're asking the Department of Revenue to identify the program that would provide the most refund to the individual. So my concern would be if if we have that and it's not the homestead SVR, is there any way we could keep their qualification and the property value as if it would apply to that SVR? Does this make sense? I don't want you to save $5 1 year and then find out because you haven't been on the SVR program that you no longer qualify.
That's a good question, Senator. We can do some research on that and make sure that we have the accurate information going forward. Right now, yeah, we'll take a look at that tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, committee, I will, let's turn our attention to Senate Bill 329, requiring a county appraiser to submit a single property appraisal instead of a mass appraisal at an appeal.
No, that's fine. Madam Chair, members of the committee, as an overview, Senate Bill number 329 relates to property tax appeals and would require the county appraiser to submit a single property appraisal report at any appeal hearing before the regular division of the State Board of Tax Appeals relating to the determination of valuation of property for tax purposes. And the bill would take effect from and after publication in the statute book.
Committee, any questions? Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this applies to both residential and commercial properties?
Amelia?
Madam Chair, yes, this would apply to any property type so it could be commercial, residential, could be personal property. It's just valuation of property.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm more comfortable starting with commercial property than I am expanding. It's going to be a difficult program, I think, for our county appraisers to address, or in terms of cost for the counties. And most of the testimony, I'm thinking, dealt with a concern for commercial property. When we, the few times that I have questioned values of property, from my county appraiser, I have been given specific properties that are like properties. That's much more difficult, we heard, to do with commercial properties.
Any other questions for Amelia? Seeing none, what are your wishes on the bill, committee? Do you want?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I don't see anyone offering any amendments and no discussion, so I would move that the Senate Assessment and Taxation Committee pass Senate Bill 329 favorably. You want to put on the consent calendar?
I would, but I'm not sure Senator Francisco would.
I don't think it would stay.
Okay. Thank you, Senator. You've heard the motion. It's been moved by Senator Peck, seconded by Senator Peterson. Discussion on the motion. All those in favor, say aye. All those opposed, nay. Would you like to be recorded?
Please.
Senator Francisco would like to be recorded as a no. Motion carries. Committee will turn our attention now to 368. Committee, I'll draw your attention to your folder. There's a new piece of information. Senator Peck, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I just thought it would be helpful for the committee to understand a little bit how a healthcare sharing ministry works. And this is my and my wife's most recent notice. And you can see we received this notice. I have redacted personal information, but we sent, as you can see, $436.90 to someone in Hopkins, Michigan. And that is our monthly share, or the amount that we paid for the month for our health care coverage, if you will, by sharing this. Again, this is just to help you understand. I didn't ask that it be a part of the permanent record, but I wanted the committee members to get a better feel how it works. You receive this from the office, the administrative office, and then you send a check directly to the individual. Some of the healthcare sharing ministries, you receive a notice about the dollar amount, but you send a check to the office for them to then distribute one check to the individual, rather than an individual, like in our case, when we've used it, we'll receive 15, 20 checks from all over the United States.
Thank you, Senator. I wanted to draw your attention to that committee. And Amelia, will you give us an overview of the bill now?
Certainly, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Senate Bill number 368 relates to income tax and enacts the Healthcare Sharing Ministries Tax Deduction Act that would provide a subtraction modification for certain qualified healthcare sharing expenses paid by a qualified individual and certain qualified healthcare shares received by a qualified individual beginning with tax year 2027.
And this is a tax deduction. I just want to be clear that everybody understands that. Thank you, Amelia.
Madam Chair, within our income taxation scheme, this is the title of the act uses the term tax deduction, but within the specificity of how our income tax statutes are structured, this falls within the subtraction modifications of 7932-117, which apply regardless of what your, whether you took a standard deduction or a itemized deduction.
Okay, so it's not treated the same as any medical deduction then. Thank you, Amelia. I just want to make sure that we're clear on this.
Okay, so it's in the subtraction modifications, so it does not fall within the deductions or the standard deduction kind of mirroring that happens in the other statute. But it does provide that if a deduction has been taken for these particular items somewhere else, they don't get to take it twice.
Thank you for the clarification. Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you. I'm just looking at this form, and I was a little, I understand how these work, I think. But I noticed in the bottom left of the form that the Senator from Montgomery gave us, if you want to make an extra contribution, it's still tax deductible. So I'm assuming that right now, if we don't do anything, these contributions are tax deductible now.
So Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. And the bottom, okay, I'm going to back up. Up at the top is our monthly share. If we wish to contribute more to individuals who had a need that was not shareable, pre-existing condition, et cetera, then we can send additional to the company, to the administrative office. And that part is tax deductible. Currently, and almost never send anything additional. I'm cheap, but that part would be, which is minimal, but the regular monthly share currently is not treated the same as health insurance premiums.
Senator Schallenberger.
Thank you very much. So let's just make sure I understand this. So when you sent the check, and I'm not trying to pick on you, but you're described here. You sent the $436.90 to Jason Hopkins. You didn't send it to Samaritan Ministries.
Senator Peck.
Thank you, correct.
Senator Schallenberger.
So Mr. Hopkins or Mrs. whoever, they got a lot of checks.
Correct.
Senator Peck.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Any other questions, committee? I want to make sure that we have it clear because it is somewhat confusing, the back and forth on it. Senator Francisco.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is following up on Senator Schallenberger's question. So the money or the deduction that you gave, if you wrote a check to Samaritan Ministries, would be deductible only if you itemize deductions. Is that correct?
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, just like any other charitable contribution.
Senator Francisco.
Just that,
Oh, go ahead, Senator Peck.
just that portion that was sent to Samaritan Ministries is, but the $436.90 is not currently.
So can you describe the difference between save to share and special prayer need?
Senator Peck.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Save to share is an amount that Tamara and I pay above. There are different levels. It's like, if you will, a maximum coverage amount. And by us participating in Save to Share, if we had a major catastrophic expense above $1 million, we could participate. If you don't participate in Save to Share, you're capped at $1 million in receiving contributions or reimbursement from members.
Thank you.
Any other questions, committee? Seeing none, what are your wishes on the bill, committee? Senator Peck. Oh, I think he's pointing to you.
I was going to make a motion, pass it out favorably.
So Senator Schallenberger, do you want to make the motion?
I'll make a motion that we recommend 368 favorably.
It's been moved and seconded by, Senator Schallenberger, seconded by Senator Klump. Discussion on the motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed, nay. Motion passes. Committee, you have the list. We'll continue working on the list. And tomorrow after a hearing. And is there any other business to be brought before the committee? Seeing none, we're adjourned. Thank you for your work.